Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the May Mini Prints monthly live broadcast. I am Bernard, owner and miniature dude at miniprints.com, aka Dr. Mini. And boy, oh boy, do we have a show for you tonight. It is going to be so exciting. There was a little bit of a theme there in the opening credits. If you heard a couple whistles, you were right, because we have a very special guest coming on in about 25 minutes. A fantastic author, Linwood Barclay, who is also an amazing model railroader, will be talking about his new book, Whistle. But before we do that, we've got a few housekeeping things. As most of you who have been here before know, we always start off the broadcast with the official welcoming of who's online and the choosing of the beers. So let's start off by saying Sean, Pennywise, and Miser gets the cookie, although technically I think it was exactly tied with Sparky. So Sean and Sparky, you guys can fight for who gets the cookie. I want to welcome John, and I want to welcome Stephen, and I want to welcome, who else is in? Another Stephen. Dave is here, Buffalo Bob, Andre, welcome. People are just streaming in. This is going to be a very exciting. Nelson Allison, lovely to see you. Todd Armstrong, and I see a lot of new names too. Welcome to Floyd, welcome to Wigwag. Welcome to everybody who is attending tonight. We are going to have a fantastic show. So let me just fire up the presentation here. And let's go like this. And then let's go like this. All right, well, you know how it works. Dupe. What if I do that? What if I do that? Oh, well. I'm trying to get the full screen with just me in the bottom. No. All right. Beer-wise, we are going to choose from 4 beers tonight, as we usually do. Keeping with today's theme, the first beer, Whistle Stop. It's a hazy pale ale, 5%, from Railway City. And I believe Railway City is in St. Thomas. Definitely had a few of those before. They make great beers, and given the theme of tonight, it has the word whistle on it. The next beer, good old Canadian Toronto Steam Whistle. Yet another beer in line with tonight's theme. Steam Whistle is a Pilsner. Remember, you're going to vote in a minute as to which beer I'm going to drink. I thought it was pretty appropriate to do a Canuck Pale Ale, Great Lakes Brewing. Can't get more Canadian than that. And I threw the wild card in with a bit of a hockey theme. Elbows Up from Cowbell. All 4 of these, local breweries. I'm going to pop one of these in a minute. I've got a couple votes for Whistle Stop in St. Thomas. And I'm always looking for beer with a railroad theme. So what do you guys say? Add your votes. Elbows Up, says Wigwag. Sparky, we're going to be talking about a meet and greet in a minute, so there's a little bit of thing. Whistle Stop, right now it's between Whistle Stop. Oh, Jennifer, welcome. Jennifer's voting for Steam Whistle. Buffalo Bob says Whistle Stop. I think Whistle Stop is the winner right now. All right, so I'm going to pop open the Whistle Stop. Full transparency, I'm not usually a hazy pale ale kind of guy, but let's give it a shot. And while we do that, right now, hi Adam, how are you? If it's no good, I'll just drink another one, but I'm sure it's going to be great. And it does have the word whistle on it, and that's the theme of the evening. It's definitely hazy. Is it fruity? Yeah, tropical fruit. Fruit should not be in beer, but whatevs. We'll give it a shot. It's a summer brew. All right, moving on. Welcome everyone who's coming in. We have a very exciting guest. We have two guests this evening. Our first guest is, let me add him in right here, Sparky.
Good day, model railroaders.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Let me put you up at the top of the screen. Let me figure out how to do that. There you are.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, you got the big screen.
Awesome.
For those who don't know you, and I can't believe there's no one here that doesn't know you, why are you the first guest of the evening?
Well, I
What are
think
we
we want
talking
to talk.
about?
Yeah, let's talk about that meet and greet that's coming up August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And I think it's awesome that you did the Railway City Brew because St. Thomas is the first stop, basically. Well, I guess it's the second stop for the meet and greet.
I don't know whether I've ever been to St. Thomas, Sparky.
Well, you've been to my layout, so that big station that is on my layout is actually the station at St. Thomas.
St. Thomas was quite the railroad city, wasn't it? The name
And
of the beer.
yeah, it had 50 tracks in the main yard and over 105 trains a day. So
That is amazing.
yes, it
So
was great.
what is a meet and greet and why do you do them?
Well, the meet and greet I started 7 or 8 years ago. Steamtown, I've done a couple. Strasburg, did one in Colorado that you went to.
Yep.
Um, Reading Railroad last year that you went to. But it gets the whole community together. Has a group all, and I kind of like to keep it kind of what a non-profit organization based into it too. And this
Okay.
year will be the St. Thomas Railway Museum because they're nonprofit. So I always try to base something with a nonprofit in there, right? So, but that's what it
Awesome.
is get everybody all together from the community. And I put up a whole series of events over the course of 3 days. And
Okay.
it's a fun 3 days, but she's jam packed full of trains. So
So what are we going to be? So it's August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th.
yeah, so the
And
22nd,
what will we
22nd,
be doing?
yeah, the 22nd, we're going to meet, I think, at 4 o'clock p.m. at the Ontario Southland Railway. We're going to get a guided tour by Larry Broadbent,
Okay.
he's been an engineer, a conductor. He's worked at St. Thomas Railway when it was Conrail. Anyway, that's going to be a great shop tour. It's a couple hours long. Then we're going to head over to Otter Valley Railroad. That'll
Okay.
finish off the night there, and then hopefully everybody comes back here and the hotel that I've booked for everybody, maybe 10 minutes down the road, so we can all hang out here, have a nice barbecue in the backyard if people are still hungry, maybe a couple drinks. We'll vote on some beers.
And that's in Cambridge, Ontario.
That is.
And
That's,
Cambridge is about an hour,
yeah.
hour and a half, hour-ish west of Toronto.
Right.
Got it.
So Cambridge is 30 minutes from the Ontario Southland, and then
Okay.
it's about an hour to get to St. Thomas, which starts off on the 23rd there.
Okay.
At 9 o'clock in the morning, we'll start at the St. Thomas Museum, Railroad Museum, get a tour of that station that you see right there in the picture, and an
Okay.
old switching tower that they got there. And then from there, we're going to head over to Waterloo Central Railway. We're going to go for a train ride. Then we got another shop tour booked for that. They got a steam locomotive they're working on in there. I think they got 3 or 4 RDCs in their yard. Lots of cars, 3 cabooses that are done up. That's going to be a good time. And then to top that night off, we're going to have dinner, 3-course meal, elegant dining on a dining car, but not just the dining car. It's going to be moving. It's a 2-hour trip. So
Oh,
we get to eat,
wow.
yeah, we get to eat dinner on a train that's moving old school style, and it's done by a chef. So it's going to be some fine dining there. So, and all this stuff you guys can check out on my channel, Sparky 107 107.
I was going to ask. I was going to
Yeah.
ask if people want more information. And I'm assuming anyone can come. They don't have to be a YouTuber.
Oh, for sure, anybody. And if you got friends, there's already 4 wives signed up for this. So
Okay.
think about the dinner train has probably a really nice date night.
Okay.
Your wife isn't gonna, like, you can take her to a fine restaurant, fine, but where are you gonna get scenery that's going past you for 2 hours, right? So
It's awesome. And
yeah,
so this is going to be August. So it's a weekend in August,
yep,
centered in Cambridge. You have negotiated a special hotel room rate.
correct. And that is at the Cambridge. Uh-oh. I wasn't ready for that part.
Suites.
Yeah, no, it's the Cambridge Hotel and Conference Center. So it's right
And
off the 401.
is there a website where people can go to get all this information, or your
Again,
YouTube channel?
the fast way to say all that is just go to my YouTube channel, and there's
Got it.
probably 6 videos there already about what's going on for the meet and greet, daily activities, where to sign up, where to send money if you need to, the hotel, all that stuff.
Sure. So does it cost money to go to the meet and greet, or is it just certain activities at the meet and greet cost money?
Certain activities will cost money. Like, obviously, I said it's nonprofit for the St. Thomas Railroad Museum. It is going to be a guided tour there too, or you can branch off on your own. Doesn't matter, but it's probably looking at like $20, and then if you want to give a donation too, right?
Awesome.
Then the Waterloo Central one, that's there's $70 for the train ride tour, or $170, and that gets you the shop tour, the train ride, and the 2-hour dinner train with the fine 3-course meal type thing. So, and then we got
Nice.
Sunday. We're going to meet.
You know what's happening on Sunday?
Well, maybe you should tell us what's happening on Sunday, because we're starting with you.
That's right. Sunday's going to be amazing. So I'm inviting everyone here to Miniature Printerland, so we can hang out here in the studio, see how many people we can cram in here. And we're going to meet here at Miniature Printerland at 9 a.m. And we'll publish all the details of where to come and park and all the rest of it. And it's always fun. People who are familiar with Miniature Printerland know that the Canadian, which is Via Rail Canada's transcontinental train from here to Vancouver, goes by every Sunday morning. So hopefully it'll be going by that Sunday morning. And we're all going to gather. We're going to hang out here. We're going to watch the Canadian steam by. And then we're all going to hop in our cars and head over to Little Canada. And I'm arranging a behind-the-scenes tour of Little Canada. And if people aren't familiar with Little Canada, think Miniature Wonderland. So someone decided they wanted to build a Miniature Wonderland style layout here in Toronto, and it's all Canada. So it's huge. Each room is a different sort of part of Canada. So you go through Ontario and Quebec and the East Coast and the West Coast, and it's really a lot of fun.
Well, you did do a meet and greet, about 3 years ago, I think you did a meet and greet at Little Canada. So
Yep, I did an event there, and Dave McLean, who is the co-founder, will be our guest. And there's a nice tie-in with Little Canada, which I'll be talking about in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned for that, because there's a theme. After Little Canada, I haven't called them yet, but I sort of talked to them about it. There is a railroad museum down at the base of the CN Tower in an old CPR roundhouse. And if I was there with you,
I think it was about a month ago, right?
About a month ago, and we got videos online with James, and it was a lot of fun. And they're going to open up some behind the scenes for us.
Don't forget, we had Steve 87P sat with us that day too.
That's right. That's true too. Yes,
that was our special guest from the States.
That's right. Our token American friend.
Yeah.
So it's going to be meet here, see the Canadian steam by. I'll make sure we have some coffee and Danishes and stuff here at the studio. You can visit me at Miniature Printerland. You can watch the Canadian, which is actually really impressive. It's a neat train.
It is.
Go by. We'll be standing on an overpass, and it goes right over top of it goes right underneath us. We're over top. Usually, if you get a bunch of people on the bridge waving, they toot the horn, and it's a neat train to see. It's a train I want to be on one day. And then from here to Little Canada, we'll do a behind-the-scenes tour of Little Canada. Dave McLean, the co-founder, and then we'll be off to the Railroad Museum. And then after that, we can come back here and go across the street to Henderson's and have beers, which we did 3 years ago.
Yeah, we did.
So,
And like I said, that whole weekend, my layout will be open too. So I know the wife will be joining me for the dining car experience type thing. But
awesome.
This store will be open for the whole weekend. People can come and go as they please. I'll have the gate open most of the time too.
Fantastic. And everyone's welcome, Canadian, American, young, old, any modeler who's interested in this. I'm very excited about going to St. Thomas and seeing some of this railroad infrastructure.
Just a bit of information. My second meet and greet was at Steamtown.
Okay.
And I had 105 people show up to that one.
Wow.
So can we fit 105 people in your little? We could probably get 105 in there.
We'll try. It'll be interesting.
Just a small bit of tidbit, like you say, American, Canadian, everybody's invited to this. At that meet and greet, I actually had a family from Germany come over.
Wow.
So it's not just for the meet and greet, guys. If you're going to do it, this is why I announced it so early too. You can book your holidays around it, and there is so much stuff to do here. There's gardens to walk through, paths to do. You got the CN Tower. There's so many other exhibits. I'm sure Bernard could throw a few out that are in Toronto. Cambridge, Waterloo's got a bunch of stuff. Like, there's so much stuff around here to do. Even before or after the meet and greet, the hotel that I've booked for you guys, you get the same rate 3 days before or 3 days after. So it doesn't just have to be the 3 days that you guys book, come do this meet and greet thing and then take off home either. So stick around, enjoy the area.
So check out Sparky 107 on YouTube. I will post details on the Mini Prints Facebook page and the Mini Prints Modelers page on Facebook. And I'm sure as we get closer, things will solidify. But everyone's welcome, and it's going to be a really fun weekend, August 22nd to 24th, of rail fanning, model railroading, all sorts of neat stuff. And if it was anything like, I've done 2 of yours, Sparky. I did the one in Colorado, which was a ton of fun and great turnout. And then last year, we did the one in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Yep. And I got to say, the after parties that we have at these meet and greets, that like
we're not allowed to talk about the after party, Sparky.
Well, just us going to that restaurant, and every time a train went by, and they must have thought we were crazy.
Oh, we are crazy, Sparky.
But
all right,
so
that's awesome. I'm going to show a few slides. Do you have any final thoughts before I dump you back down into the basement?
There's a couple people in the chat that are asking if you're actually coming to the meet and greet.
Oh, I am. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You've already said you can't wait to go to St. Thomas, and pretty much you're going to be showing us around the Toronto area. So
yeah.
And don't worry, there is enough people around here with cars. We're thinking that people can have rides. We'll pick you up at the hotel and take you to the events and stuff like that too. So
yeah, for sure.
Transportation should not be a problem.
I've got at least 3 or 4 spots in mind. So yeah, we'll figure it all out. But everyone's welcome. If you are watching this before, during, or after the broadcast, and you're interested in attending the YouTube meet and greet here in Toronto and Cambridge, August, and St. Thomas, August 22nd to 24th, reach out to Sparky 107, reach out to me at Mini Prints, and we will figure it all out.
And if you're thinking about the dining car thing, book fast. I've already got 14 people booked on that.
Ooh, okay. I better book that.
I posted that a couple days ago. So those will go awesome. Quick. So
thanks, Sparky.
Awesome, bud. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I'm really looking forward to that. All right. I'm going to bring on our featured guest in about 8 minutes. But before we do that, I want to share a few of the things that are new and exciting at Mini Prints. Okay, so I've got, I think, 3 slides before our featured guest. This has been a very, very, very busy month at miniprints.com. We have launched a ton of new models, including something that has been requested for years, and I finally got around to making, which are hobos. So we have some absolutely beautiful hobos, a set of 3, available in N, HO, S, and O scale. May is Bird Month at Mini Prints, and I'll get into that in a minute. So since we did the dire wolves last month, which are being brought back from extinction, I thought it was only appropriate to do dodo birds this month. And I was very disappointed to learn that dodo birds are only 3 feet tall, because after watching Alice in Wonderland, I kind of thought the dodo birds would be, 4.5, 5 feet eye level. But they're like basically big chickens, but you can now have dodo birds on your layout. I've added Canada geese and a new pose for great blue herons, as well as a bunch of really neat new things like dirt bikes, vending machines, a really neat farmer herding sheep, drainage pipes. There's just been a ton of stuff up on the website. So if there are things that you have not checked out lately, if you haven't been to miniprints.com lately, definitely check out the new arrivals tab. We've got all of the fantastic combines and tractors from James Regier Models, and a whole bunch of other really fun things. So lots of new stuff. As I mentioned, May is Bird Month. So until May 10th, there's 15% off all mini prints birds, painted or unpainted. So if you go to the miniprints.com website and you see, you go to birds, the collection, and you see something you'd like, type in birds 15 and you'll get 15% off your order for the bird related items. I'm a big bird watcher. I've always enjoyed birding. I always like to go to, there's a fantastic bird banding station here in Toronto, and there's one in Prince Edward County where they band with mist nets. It's fascinating. So May is always a big fun bird watching month, and save 15% off all birds. And I don't want to go too deep into the mini print stuff because I promised our special guest, who is right down there in the basement, that I would have him on no later than 7:30. And I'm absolutely thrilled to have this guest. So I don't quite know how to introduce him. So there are 3 ways I could introduce our featured guest tonight. And we'll call this the Meet the Modeler segment. The first way I could introduce him is as an internationally renowned New York Times bestselling author. But that's not really what I want to talk to him about. The second way I could introduce him is Spencer's dad. And most of you have met Spencer Barclay before. Spencer is a very good friend. And I told you that I would reference Little Canada. Spencer was very instrumental in building a lot of Little Canada, which you will see if you come on the YouTube meet and greet in August, Sparky's YouTube meet and greet. It's a fantastic attraction in downtown Toronto, and we're thrilled to have Dave McLean take us around behind the scenes. But the way I want to introduce him is as a model railroader. And he's a really good model railroader. I had the opportunity to see his layout the other night. We did a little test broadcast, and it's a spectacular basement-sized layout. So if you are wondering who I am talking about, if you haven't seen all the promotion, I am talking about, and let me just pull up the slide here. Let me add it to the scene. I am talking about Linwood Barclay. Linwood Barclay is a model railroader and an author. And the reason specifically that I have him on tonight is that he's written a new book. So without further ado, if you are ready, Linwood, I'm going to add you to the scene. Whoops, let me add you to the scene. And let's go split screen like that. And let me unmute you. You are unmuted. Welcome. Oh, I think you have to unmute yourself too now. Hold on. You have to unmute yourself. Ask for unmute. Hang on. There you go. Are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, we did it.
I'm
You're
here.
there.
That's great. How you doing?
Good. So how am I supposed to introduce you?
Yeah, just some guy in Toronto would probably suffice.
Some crazy guy who hangs out basement like the rest of us with model trains?
That's right. I was going to show you. I'm going to take us down the hall and go into the train room. Before I
Yeah,
do,
that's awesome.
I can show you. Yeah, there's the new book which you had kindly pointed out.
Oh yeah.
Whistle comes out May 20th in North
Okay.
America. And if any of your folks, you got any folks watching from further away, um, I'll be heading to doing a UK tour for leaving on June 7th. So this is actually the UK cover is quite different, and it's pretty cool actually. I really like it. Makes it little model train there look kind of evil.
I think I like the UK cover better than the
I
North American cover.
I did too. I mean, I really liked the North American one. They did a nice job in it. But this one, they kind of pulled out all the stops on this one. I quite like it.
Can you turn the book on its side for a minute?
How like
Whoa! How many pages there?
oh, it's about 440. It's around
Ooh,
400.
that's a good read. I look forward
Yeah,
to that.
it'll take a while. So I just thought I'd show that to you. So I'm going to turn this around, and we're going to head down the hall. I've
Awesome.
left something running in there. The great joke will be that if it's all derailed before we get there.
Yeah, well, that's
Um,
always the way on a live broadcast, right?
oh, for sure. So we
Yeah.
just head down the hall here.
Okay.
Past, actually, we mentioned this the other day. These are some of on the way, my father's illustrations. My dad was a commercial illustrator. Drew the cars for the car ads you would have seen if you were around in the 50s and the 60s and so forth. So we have a little gallery of his work down here. But anyway, enough of that. This is the train room. So we'll just, with great fanfare,
Wow.
I left one train running somewhere, and we'll turn it off soon because it's very noisy and kind of annoying. But we'll give you a little review to start. Where is it? Oh, there it is. If you can see, it's down there. It's going to start heading up this hill. This to the side here. This is largely Spencer's work. That's kind of meant to replicate the Niagara Escarpment.
Okay.
And we've got a couple engines coming up the hill
Oh,
here.
here we go. Train. Nice. Very nice. So, Linwood, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Which came first, Linwood the author or Linwood the model railroader?
Oh, I'm probably an author first. Here's the
Okay.
just kind of couple other quick things I'll show you before. This is the kind of a yard and a city scene. Spencer made all of these buildings for me. They're all about an inch deep and a few lights on them, and so that took a while before we got that ready. And then here's our one train looping around again.
That's awesome.
So I just got a nice little kind of haunted house up here.
I should hope so.
And then this is the duck ender, or the place where I like to hit my head.
Yeah. We've all done that.
And just want to sort of look around the room.
So, how big is this layout? How big is the room?
The room's about 18 square, roughly.
Okay.
And funnily enough, and we started work on this in, I believe, May of 2019. And having torn down the one when we moved from Oakville. And that room was actually, amazingly, that was out in the suburbs, but the room that we have in the downtown in Toronto here is actually just a titch bigger. And so we're able to pack a lot in here.
Wow.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut this sucker down because it's kind of annoying.
Sure. You got to play. You got to hit the whistle first. First, you got to play. You got to hit the whistle for us.
All right, see what I can do here.
We have a theme this evening. There you go.
You have to give the public what they want, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Did you see what beer I'm drinking tonight in your honor?
Hang on. Anyway, we're gonna. power down. I'm going to turn it off.
There you go. Did you see what I'm drinking?
Oh, perfect.
So I figure I have a tie-in for you. You got to call your agent.
Yeah, all right.
So I think if you're doing a book reading, you got to do it down at either Steam Whistle or Railway City
You
in
know what?
St. Thomas.
You know where I am doing a reading in September in is it Brockville, where they have the first tunnel,
Yeah.
the first railway tunnel, and they've now turned that into a kind of venue, an entertainment venue. So I'm doing an event there. I'm doing a reading for Whistle, and that location. I think it's the weekend after Labor Day. So it's the
Ooh,
Friday night after Labor Day.
that'll be
So
fun.
that's going to be fun. I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that's the perfect venue for Whistle.
Of course. And the
Yeah.
tie-ins are perfect. I mean, I'm excited to talk to you as a model railroader,
Mhm.
but I'm also excited to hear the Linwood Barclay story. I mean, I don't know much about you. You're Spencer's dad. I know that.
Yes.
Spencer's a good friend. I know you are an international New York Times best-selling author.
Yep.
You are
I'm trying to find a spot that you don't have a lot of weird light over my
No,
head.
that's perfect.
All right.
Perfect. I know that you are a model railroader, obviously,
Yeah.
because we're looking at a spectacular layout. I have so many questions. Where should we start?
Well, maybe we'll start first of all how I got into this. So the hobby, and then we'll talk about the books.
Sure.
So I guess when I was around 4 or 5, probably about 5 or 6 years old, actually, my brother had I think an American Flyer set, and we still had that. And it went around the tree. But when we moved to Canada when in 1959, when I was just before I turned 4. And one day my dad came home and he went with a 4x8 sheet of plywood and one of those rolls of grass that you could staple, onto the thing. And he did a simple one big oval for around this 4x8, and then one track that went in like sort of two ovals, if you know what I mean, and an oval within the oval. And in the center oval, he bought all the Aurora model motoring HO race car set with a level crossing, so you could use slot cars and try to beat the train to the crossing. And so he set that up, and then after a while, we moved it to a different room in the house and doubled it. We basically put another 4x8 on the end of it. So I grew up having this sort of rudimentary kind of model railway, but I always really liked it and liked models and I liked toys and stuff like that. And my dad, in addition to being an artist, commercial illustrator, he was a very good model maker himself. And I mean, at the time, the TV shows that were on, like the Jerry Anderson things like Stingray or Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and so forth, nobody at the time made those toys, made commercials. And so he would make them for me. Like one time he had, it was an actual large model of a submarine, which he kit bashed and turned into a Fireball XL5. And it looked great, and so years go by, get married and so forth. So when we finally, had a house with a basement, I thought I got to get back to this. And the first one I built was there was still some of the old 4x8 left, and I brought that in, and it was pretty bad. But with each house that we would have over the years, I would build a new model railway in the basement, and they kind of progressively got a little better. And then I had a bit of a detour, sort of around 1990. I'd always thought it would be fun to build sort of the three rail, the O gauge Lionel stuff. And so I got rid of my HO stuff, and I had this one large room, and I built for 3 years. I did the Lionel thing, and decided it was great stuff, but it just didn't work. I couldn't do enough with it in the space that I had. And so, and then when Spencer, of course, we talked about Spencer. When Spencer was still in a little baby bucket seat and was a few months old, I would set him in a bucket on the benchwork while I built and worked on a layout. And I think he got the bug very early because of that. And so I've just, pretty much, they know what it's like. It's what we're like when you go shopping for a new house. The first thing your wife does is they check out the kitchen and so forth, and you're going downstairs and think, well, is there a room here that I can use? And the room that I'm in now, I think was intended to be sort of this big family TV theater room or something, but it's not. And there's another room at the end of the hall that serves that purpose. We're using that. So that's the train stuff. The writing stuff. So I was writing stories as a kid. I mean, I was I grew up in the '60s, obsessed with television, and there were some shows that I loved so much that an episode a week wasn't enough. So I would write what we call fan fiction now, and I would take characters created by somebody else, and I would write stories of my own featuring them. And to the point that I asked my dad. My dad taught me at my request when I was, I think, in grade 5 or 6. I asked him to teach me how to type so I could do the stories more quickly. And by the time I was in grade 7 or 8, I would write 35, 40-page novellas based on my favorite shows. And always wanted to do that. And I know I wanted to be a novelist, wanted to be a crime writer and so forth. And figured that and I'd written a couple of novels by the time I was, I don't know, 22, 23, none of which were published. And we can all be grateful for that. I just figured once I got out of Trent University, I'd just be a best-selling writer. That didn't work because nobody wanted to publish those books. And so I thought, well, where can a guy get paid money to write every day? And I got a job at newspapers, starting at the Peterborough Examiner, then a small paper out of Oakville. In 1981, I joined the Star, and hired as an editor, copy editor. And I was an editor. I was assistant city editor. I was the chief copy editor, stuff like that. In '93, I started doing a 3 times a week column for the Star, allegedly a humor column. And I did that, and I had never lost interest in, someday doing the novels. And in '90, I did do some books while I was a columnist that were sort of humor related, and did a memoir and so forth. But in 2004, the first novel came out. That was a book called Bad Move. It was sort of a comic thriller. There were 3 more came after it. They didn't sell particularly well. And so my agent said, you should write a serious thriller, not a comic thriller, some sort of great idea. So I ended up writing a book called No Time for Goodbye, which became kind of a global hit. It was the single best-selling novel of the year in the UK in 2008. It was a huge bestseller in Germany. It was just got made into a TV series in France that aired 2 weeks ago, and it's done millions of copies. And that's when I decided I quit my day job at the Star. So I've been doing books ever since, and I've been writing what I would call, sort of thrillers in the real world. About a couple of years ago, I had this idea for a book that's kind of out of my lane, a little bit different, of horror supernatural overtones. And I started thinking, I was sort of in this room, and I started thinking about it, and I thought, why is it that, dolls and, little mechanical monkeys always get to be the kinds of toys in horror novels? Why couldn't it be a toy train? And so I came up with this idea of a book about a woman named Annie Blunt, who is a children's illustrator, writes children's books, and she suffers a kind of double horrific tragedy. One is related to a child mimics something that was in her book, and it leads to a horrible tragedy. And then she loses her husband in a horrible car hit-run accident. And she takes her son, decides they have to get out of the city. They need to get away and kind of get their lives back together. She rents this house kind of out in the country, and her son finds this box of old sort of Lionel-type toy trains, and starts to set them up in the floor. And not long after this happens, all sorts of very strange things start occurring, like hearing train whistles in the night when there's no track nearby that's still in service, or Annie starts drawing these strange, horrific kind of creatures rather than the cute little penguin she would draw for her series, and other very strange things. And all of this stuff is related to something in a town not too far away that happened more than 20 years ago. And that's kind of just very quickly kind of the overview. And I started writing this. I started writing it, I guess, in about September of 2023, and finished it in January of last year. And when when I first delivered it to my publishers, they were kind of like, I don't know, man. It's so different from what you usually do, but it might have helped that my very first reader, the person who read the very first draft, was a guy named Stephen King, who's a friend, and he said, "Man, I love this," and that may have helped tip the publishers saying, "Yeah, okay, well, let's print this sucker."
Sorry, you mentioned Stephen who?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He's a guy. He's a writer.
Yeah.
Not many people have heard of him, but
But is he a model railroader?
no. But I think he's into trains though, because
Okay.
when he did a book a few years ago. One of my favorites is called The Institute, and there's a very long section where someone is trying to escape and they hop on a train and so forth. And I was writing to him and said, "I'm reading between the lines here that I think you're kind of a train guy, and if you get to Toronto, you have a standing invitation to come down to the basement and participate." And he said, "I'm in if I get there."
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. So, couple questions.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional interviewer, so I'm not going to do a
No,
Chrono Star interview with you, but I am curious about a couple things. I'm curious whether you think Whistle is going to scare us out of our basements and whether there's any risk that you dissuade the next generation from becoming model railroaders.
well, I would hate to do that because I always worry that the hobby might be dying. So we need everybody we can get. I don't think so. But what you do like to do is what I love to be able to do is to make people afraid of something that they've been living with all the time and look at it in a different way. A few years ago, I did a book called Elevator Pitch.
Yep.
And Elevator Pitch was about a guy in Manhattan who a rather different kind of serial killer who was killing people by sabotaging elevators. And I had so many people say to me after they that, "I'm taking the stairs all the time now. That book completely freaked me out." And some of the early readers of Whistle have said, I didn't think you could do it, but you've completely freaked me out about toy trains. Is it possible to make toy trains? I've been telling people that what I want Whistle to do is I want it to do for toy trains what Chucky did for dolls, and and I think I did it. And that was the challenge was doing the book. It's like, can I pull this off? Can I make it really creepy? And I mean, people, you know what? Readers will be the judge.
Well, and all of our wives already think model trains are evil, so
Yeah, or just weird.
you're weird. Yeah.
It's very weird. Sometimes I tell people, it's like I said, if I were to tell you that I've got this amazing porn collection in the basement, they would think, okay, that I get.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's normal.
That's just
Yeah.
Well, so do I. Like whatever.
Well, my other question, I'm sure I could come up with a few more, but I'm interested in how your experiences as a model railroader informed the writing. So they always say write about things you know. Clearly, you know trains. So how much of your hobby and your model railroad experience did you put into the book?
Well, I think quite a bit. I think because I've built many model railways and know how they're done. So when I started thinking, well, if one were so inclined to build a model railway with human parts, how would you do it? I think, well, your supporting structure, instead of 1x2s, that could be bones. You could do, certainly dyed hair works well for grasses. Little fingernails could make little sort of wonderful little patio stones. And I started thinking that way about how you could do that, and so I think first of all, having a twisted mind helped a lot too. But knowing how a model railway is built allowed me to sort of think, okay, if there was someone not terribly well, how would they go about doing this? And so that all came together very well. But in terms of what the model railway kind of does for me, aside from this book, is when you are writing and you spend your whole day sitting at a computer screen trying to think up a world in your head, it's nice to come down and make one with your hands. It's kind of therapeutic. It's very kind of Zen-like, and I find that's helpful. And I know that and I'm not any kind of real sort of railway expert and know everything about the prototypes, would this engine have run with that engine? And I don't care about any of that stuff, And this isn't modeled on anything in particular. I'm just having a good time.
So that's a really interesting question, because it's a question that a lot of us ask. And I mean, I'm in the miniature business. I make my living by selling, little tiny miniatures. What is it about this hobby? Like, what is it about? Like, we don't model airports. No one is sort of like doing, trucking on the 401. What is it about model trains that captivates us?
Well, and of course, also, and it's also, I think it's comparable to the interest that some people have in doll houses and recreating them, and right down to the furniture and the carpets and all of that sort of thing. I think what makes model railways really work is that it allows you to create a world in miniature, but there's motion through it. And it's not just making something small and tiny and replicating the real world. That's fun, but it's having motion. And when a train goes through the scene and your eye follows it, it's the motion of that train that takes you that you travel with. And as you do that, you see all the other things that have been built and designed and put in miniature. So I think that's a big part of the appeal of it. And I'm also a guy who always loved slot cars and so forth. But I've always thought that, first of all, slot cars, I think you really need at least two people to make slot cars remotely interesting. But model railway is something that you can do on your own, and you don't always need somebody else to be there with you. You can work on it in a solitary way. And when Rod Stewart goes on tour and he takes all his model kits to his hotel room after the concert and builds it, he doesn't need anybody else to do that. He can just do it on his own.
Yeah. So are you a scenery guy? Are you a bench work guy? Are you an electrical guy? Are you a layout planning operations guy? What element of the hobby sort of is your favorite?
I think the thing that I like the most is when I first have bench work done, and it's just putting track down. Yeah. And having those progress, and I'm not an operations guy. I find that if I turn this around, you can see that I've got this I have this kind of a bit of a yard with switching potential right there, but I never do it. It's there if I want to do it. But what I want to do is I just want to come down and I'll run a train or two on this main line. It goes around the room and around the room. And I just kind of, like I said earlier, I kind of sort of zen out.
Yeah.
And so I like kit building. I like, I like collecting the various things, going to the store and buying them. I like doing scenery. I'm a zero head for electronics. I've got a DCC system, and I can make it work. And it's I laid all the track and I wired it all, and I did the little what they call the bus thing. I did all that. But that's relatively simple. But there aren't any working lights, signal lights. There's none of that on here. The one time when I did the Lionel thing, that was one time where I figured out block wiring. And then having figured it all out, then they introduced this command control system. I didn't even need it. But I don't have a head for that, the electronic stuff. And I'm too old to learn it. It'd be like trying to learn Spanish now. And so I think it becomes a place to just kind of zone out a bit for me, is what I like about it.
Are there any Easter eggs on your layout that reference any of your books? Are you going to put a little homage to Whistle on there somewhere?
Oh, I don't. I've got a few little funny things. Well, some of them, Spencer's got on the skyscraper over there, on the top of the skyscraper over there's alien figure. There's some zombies over here. There's some campers get to be eaten by bears down there. There's actually, at one point a few years ago, Trent University in a promotional thing took a picture of me, and they put it, those little sort of envelope shaped ads that they have in the top of the streetcars or the subways at the top. They did one of those of me. So I come to Trent University. So we made a copy of that, and it's on the other side of where the city is, but it's been defaced, and someone's put a mustache on me, and it's been vandalized.
I can see Spencer doing that.
Oh, you did a lovely job, and I'm just pretty much unrecognizable.
Kids.
And on top of that, Spencer bought in a novelty store when he was, I think, on his honeymoon in San Francisco, as a bat signal that actually you could click on and it would work. There's a bat signal on top of the building over there, but there's not a lot of other sort of cutesy stuff.
Right.
There's not this sort of thing where every restaurant, and every building has a pun. I hate that stuff. I'm sorry. If you love that, if you want to do that, that's fine.
Sure.
But there's not an eatery on here called Salmonella's Restaurant. Okay,
Right.
we're not doing that. I'm not doing that. But I know, over here where we've got, but these are just those little, prize or whatever is figures you can buy. Over there, there's a bunch of bikers beating the snot out of a guy. That's just kind of fun.
I think Spencer might have hit a few mini prints on your layout at one
Oh,
point.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, because he's posted some pictures before of some of the things he's built, and I think there might be a few mini prints on there. But certainly, we'll have to
Thanks.
get you. I'll have to create some inappropriate things and send them to you via Spencer.
And when I was at a book festival, and I did a book tour in France a month ago, and I went to see Mini World Lyon in Lyon, because that's where the festival was. And I'd done that festival 2 other times. I always wanted to go to see Mini World Lyon, and I never had a time. And I had this like 3-hour window between events, and I grabbed a cab and I went. It was right on the outside of town. Went and did that and saw it, and it was really good. It's not as spectacular as Little Canada, but it has the same kind of aesthetic. Like if you had told me the same people built it, I would have said, yeah, I believe that. But they had a lot of cute things, like they had a scene that was like from Walking Dead, and they had all this other stuff. But the gift shop sold little figures they had same-sex couples, and I bought a set of those because I just wanted to, bring the layout into the 2020s.
Absolutely. So, okay, couple things.
Yeah.
I'm curious if we have any questions from the audience. So if you're game, if anyone has any questions for you about anything, now is your time. And I also want to mention that I purchased 2 copies of your book, which I believe will be delivered around or after May 20th.
Yes.
Because I'm looking forward to reading it. Although after your description of the layout, I'm kind of curious about what I got myself into. I'm beginning to second guess.
You could learn some wonderful tips, modeling tips that you've not encountered anywhere else. Like how do you, if you want to do kind of a stream, but you've always wanted it to be read, I can tell you, and you'll learn how to do that.
Okay, so there might be an homage on my layout to your book. So now, whether or not that's on purpose or by mistake, we'll see. But we do have one question. Heath is asking, tongue in cheek, is he going to have to learn how to read? And this is Heath. Heath is a bit of a joker, or he wants to know if there's an audio book that's going to be available.
I'm sure there is. I mean, all my books are on audio, so I can't remember who's done it. They often send me the sort of audition recordings of all the different narrators, and I pick one, but I just don't remember it so I don't know who it is, but I'm pretty sure it is coming. It is on audio.
Okay. I have ordered 2 copies, one for myself and one to give away. So I am going to pick a number from 1 to 50. No, actually, let's do 1 to 100. And in a minute, we can run a little sort of, people can type their numbers, and I will go back and look at the comments and see who I award the book to. Any other questions? Oh, so yes, Sparky would like to know if you are coming to the YouTube meet and greet, or if you're free on, I think it's Sunday, August, let me guess, I guess 23rd here, Sunday the 24th. We're all going to go for a behind the scenes tour of Little Canada.
Oh, really?
With Dave McLean.
Yep, I know Dave.
You're definitely invited to join us for that if you want to hang out with us.
I hadn't been there. I hadn't been there in quite a while, and then I knew that they'd done the West Coast, and I had this day where I had just a bit of time, and I went over to Little Canada, and I just raced through it to just spend 10 minutes in front of the West Coast one, and then I had to take off. But it's stunning, you know. And
Well, you know what?
I told you that you're back in, I think, 2017. Spencer and I went to Hamburg just to see Miniature Wonderland.
Oh, wow. I've always wanted to see that. Well, they're working on Little North right now.
Yeah,
Because I printed up like a ton. I don't know if I have any in front of me. They're over there. But I do most of the animals for Little Canada.
Oh, great.
So I just did a ton of musk oxes and polar bears. I just delivered them at the end of April. So I think we're going to get Little North relatively soon.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be cool. Yeah.
And when you walk in, they've got the air conditioning pump. So when you walk into like a sealed room, you get instantly hit with a blast of Arctic air.
You know, it must be at least 12 years ago or more. CBC did a piece on me one time about the books and so forth, and they shot some video of me in the layout that we had at the time at the other house in Oakville. And Jean-Louis Brennickmeyer had seen it, and he lives in Oakville. And we were like, he wanted to come over and show me these plans that he had drawn up for something that would be, at the time, he was calling Our Home in Miniature Land. And so I remember seeing, put them on the table, the first sort of sketches and plans for that. And for him to see that become a reality, I think is just so amazing.
Well, and it keeps getting better and better. Like every time I go, like it's impossible to absorb all of it in one visit.
Yeah.
And every time I go, there's something new and different.
And I don't know if anybody's ever even noticed it, but there is a little murder scene in it that Spencer did in my honor.
Oh, very good.
It's in the Niagara on the lake area.
Excellent. My wife, Holly, has a question.
Linwood's Diner. There's a Linwood's Diner.
Okay.
And,
I've seen that. I've taken a picture of it. Yeah. I have a picture of
and my
Linwood's
wife
Diner.
and I are in miniature on it. Oh, we have a question.
We have a question from my wife.
Ah.
So Holly, there's Holly on Pumpkin. Pumpkin is my wife's horse that's up actually near Dave McLean. That's another connection. So Holly wants to know, because we know you mentioned your dad. Did any of your dad's childhood model train kit bashes or stories or anything make it into your book?
I don't think so. No, I don't think there's any. My dad didn't make any of the layout out of human body parts. So,
oh, that's too bad.
You know, as much as it would have been cool.
I think we just did a little plot spoiler there.
That's okay. That's not too big.
It gets way worse.
Oh, it gets so much worse.
So, am I suggesting this might not be a book that I read on my bedside table before lying down and going to sleep?
I think you should, because the thing I love to hear most is that I couldn't sleep after reading this, or I just kept reading it. And I kind of always like to hear that. But I think this one, it's what's really funny is that when I write any of these kind of scenes, I never feel scared myself. I think it's because it's the same thing as that you can't tickle yourself. You know what I mean? and so I don't get scared. But then other people read them and they go, "Oh man, that scene just completely freaked me out."
Yeah, with all due respect, this doesn't sound like it's akin to tickling. I think those are two opposite ends of the spectrum.
And despite its subject matter of toy trains, it's probably not a good book for kids under 8. You know?
Okay. So where does it fit in? I'm curious. I mean, I've heard you talk kind of enthusiastically about this book. Where do you think it fits in sort of your favorites? I mean, does an author have favorites? Are you allowed to have favorites?
I do.
Oh, yeah?
I've done a book a year since 2004, but some years there were 2. And so
like 20 books?
Oh, I think this might be 25 or 26.
Wow.
I'm not sure how many novels it is. So it's certainly one of the ones I've had the most fun writing. I think I had done a book about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, called Look Both Ways, which was also a little out of my lane. It was more like a Michael Crichton book.
Is this the self-driving car?
It's about an island test community with self-driving cars where a virus gets introduced into the system, and all the cars can essentially become homicidal. It'd be like being on an island with 1,000 Christines, and I had a blast writing that one too. I think that that book and this one were more fun because I could kind of break all the rules. I could do things that were outlandish and didn't have to account for them or explain them. I could just do them. Whereas in a more conventional thriller, all the plot pieces have to fit together and it has to make sense. And even a horror novel has to make sense in the context of that world. But there were things I could get away with in those books that I couldn't with others, which made them more fun.
I have a question, if I may. We'll wrap it up soon. 2 questions, and then we'll wrap it up relatively soon. Amy wants to know, will there be a follow-up book with Annie?
Mm-hmm.
Does Amy know something we don't know? Has she read the first book? Or
I don't know. I don't know if Amy's read the book or not.
all right. Well, she
literally,
already wants to know if there's going to be another one.
I doubt it. I think what I might do is, depending on how Whistle is received by the public, I might do more books that are sort of horror supernatural. There is an element in the novel that my own literary agent thinks could allow me to do another book, that not necessarily about Annie, but about something else that's in the novel. But like I say, I think it'll be all determined on how people react to it, whether I do more. Like I already have 2 other books that are kind of in the bank, 2 other thrillers that one would be for next year, one for the year after. Neither of them have gone through a severe edit yet, but they're more what people would expect to get from me. But like I say, if people like this one, then I'd have a couple other weird ideas kicking around up here.
Okay. And I think the last question of the evening is going to go back to Heath, our illiterate friend who needs an audiobook. And he wants to know about the movie Holland, which I'm not familiar with, and the use of a model railroad in telling the story. Have you ever heard of Holland?
Nope. So that's kind of a tough one.
Okay. Amy apparently read an advanced copy.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Something called NetGalley. What's that?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. That's great.
She loved it. All right. Well, that's amazing, Amy. Don't tell us anything about it. Other than, are you about to become a model railroader? Are you, or will you become a model railroader? Will this book expand the hobby? Now,
Amy makes a trip up to Credit Valley or George's.
Yeah, exactly. Or Otter Valley.
Yes,
friends at Otter Valley. Yeah. A very good friend of mine, Nick Masney, who is the owner of ITLA. And I know Spencer knows Nick very well because I connected the 2 of them. Nick and Spencer both have the same type of laser.
Yeah.
The Trotex. So, I think you froze there for a sec. Nick creates beautiful wooden kits, beautiful wooden laser kits. If you haven't built one, it's really a lot of fun. Nick is besties with Sir Rod. And Nick has been to Sir Rod Stewart's layout a number of times.
Oh, wow.
He's actually been invited to Sir Rod Stewart's home, seen the layout, made things. So I will have to connect you and Spencer with Nick, and Spencer knows Nick. And then maybe if you're in the UK, since you've written a book about model trains, maybe there's a connection there that we can create.
I'll ask a favor. If he's got, we were actually trying to find a way to get a copy of Whistle to Sir Rod.
Well, that is through Nick Masney, and Spencer knows Nick very well.
So far we hadn't found a way to do it. Like that. I heard from Jean-Louis Brennickmeyer because they, I think, wanted to extend an invitation because Rod Stewart's doing a concert in Toronto in July. Yeah. And I think they were hoping to get him. I'd like him to come down to the basement here. If he's got
we all would. Well,
but if they get him, I'm sure that Little Canada would love to see him.
Sir Rod has been to Nick's house. Nick is in Dorchester, just outside of London, and has played with Nick's toys. And I went to touch one of Nick's cars once, and there were some fingerprints in the dust. And I was told that I couldn't touch that car on the layout because those were Sir Rod's fingerprints in the dust on Nick's box car. But I'll bet you
his DNA too. He could make another.
Probably. I peed in the same washroom that Rod Stewart peed in.
I can't top that.
It's like this close, baby. Anyway, talk to Spencer. Tell Spencer to call Nick. Nick, I'm sure, can get.
There were 2 people we wanted to get the Whistle book to. We wanted to try to get one to Rod Stewart, and we wanted to get one to Mandy Patinkin.
Oh, right.
And we haven't had. I don't think we've had any success on either score.
Well, and then you also have to do Gross.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
he's very involved in the community, and Michael Gross, right?
Yeah, I know who you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very involved in. I think he owns a short line.
Oh, yeah.
He's railroad crazy. We all are railroad crazy. Well, this has been so much fun. I see a couple numbers that have gone by. I'm going to do a random number generator between 1 and 100. And throw your numbers in starting now. We'll let it run for a minute. If you haven't put a number in, throw it in. I will go back. I will look through the comments. And I guess if you don't guess the number, I'll find the person who's the closest to the number. How about that? Or should I just do it right now? I don't know how to do this.
Let me pick a number between 1 and 100. I don't know anything that's going on.
Yeah, why don't you pick a number between 1 and
14.
100? Well, you can't tell people.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Now everyone's going to type in 14.
Okay, it's not 14.
Is this a plot of some sort of novel where the author tells everyone the number so that
you had them all there already and you could just sort of pick them up.
Sparky has now typed. Everyone's typing the number 14. Linwood, how many copies of this book are you prepared to give away?
Yeah, I think.
All right. So here's the deal. Think of a number. When we're done this broadcast, you're going to text me or email me the number.
Okay.
I will then go through. Yeah, this is like Oprah, where Oprah tells everyone to look under their seats. And you get a book, and you get a book, and you get a book. All right. So how do people, if they don't win the book from me, how do people get this book? Because I think there are a lot of people here that are going to want to read this.
And I don't. And your viewership, I presume, is international. You're all over the world.
Yes, with an emphasis on Canada, US, but I do have mini prints customers in 32 countries around the world, and I've hit every single continent except Antarctica.
Wow. Well,
I know.
First of all, it's just, in Canada, any, I would hope any bookstore will have it after the 20th. Independence, okay. I would hope will have it. You're certainly going to find it you're going to find a lot of them at Indigo and Chapters and all those. It's going to be everywhere. Okay. So because we're doing big promotion, I think on May 20th, I think I'm doing the CDV's morning show for it.
Okay.
And so it'll be around, and in the future, we have translations coming in Germany and Italy for sure, and in Dutch.
Nice.
The book's been sold in those markets, so it's coming out we're starting to get into some foreign languages with it. So it's coming.
Good. Anywhere there's model railroaders or people that like to be scared.
Yes, you don't have to be. It's not necessary to be a model train aficionado to enjoy this book. In fact, the model train stuff doesn't even come in for quite a ways. So kind of take you into that gently.
Sure. But we're still, as model railroaders, thrilled that you thought of us and that we now have a book just to do to the same as Chucky. I mean,
we're going to do for trains what Chucky did for dolls.
I love it.
Good.
I love it. Okay, so keep those numbers coming. I will sort through. Linwood will get back to me.
I will.
I think I'm going to go through a few slides on the back end, just showing some work. Do you want to stick around or do you want to take off?
I'm taking off.
Okay. So any last thoughts? Any last...
I know. Listen, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. It's fun to talk to you. I've heard a lot about you, and Spencer just thinks the world of you. And I want to thank you for all the stuff that you've been working on with him. And it's this kind of stuff that you do. It gives us all a great deal of fun and pleasure.
Well, like it says behind me over there, think small. That's our motto. So it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to read the book. May 20th, I will be diving in. I will already warn my wife that I might be sleeping with a light on for a couple nights. And thank you so much for coming on. It was great to see your layout, hear about your model railroad journey, and this could be a fun read.
Great. Well, thanks so much for having me, Bernie. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, take care.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
See ya. All right, everyone. That was great. So we have our very own Scary Model Railroad book coming out. So this is cool. I know there's been layouts in movies. I was watching, I think, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and there was a model train set in that. And, every now and then you see a movie or a TV show with a model train set in it. Kind of justifies our existence. And now we've got our very own book. So that was very, very exciting that Linwood came on. And a ton of fun. So let me just wrap this up because, I don't like to go too long. Thank you to Sparky for telling us about the YouTube meet and greet. Thank you so much to Linwood for sharing some information about his book. Just a couple of housekeeping things that I promised that I would talk about and share. And let me do that right now. Add to scene. Otter Valley. I have just finished a ton of N-scale 3D printed loads for Lorne. If you will remember, yeah, that's true, Sean. Adam's family did have a train layout. That is very true. Good point. So if you're interested, if you're an N-scaler, we had the HO scale scrap loads in the past that were 3D printed by Miniprints and then weathered by Sarah at Otter Valley. The N scale loads are now in. So that's kind of fun. Let me see if I can get rid of that logo, which is very unfortunately placed. There we go. We'll just go small. Every month I like to show photographs from the Miniprints Modelers group. This is a fantastic scene by Pele, one of the best out there. Sure looks real to me. That is a Miniprints air conditioner on the side, and I believe our Miniprints residential gas meter as well. So thank you for incorporating those. Some other fantastic images that were shared on the Miniprints Modelers group this month. Steve did our grizzlies and our salmon in a waterfall, which I thought was fantastic. John had a lot of fun with our close to the edge figures, looking over the layout. Always popular, and I think there were some really funny captions on this one. One of which was, I think I see your cell phone, or you dropped your cell phone. A little bit of sad news. Some of you might remember that I shared some fantastic modeling last month from Keith Hackelman, including this fantastic sort of petroglyph cave art scene. I sent out an email newsletter last week, and Keith's widow sadly informed me that Keith had passed away at the end of April due to a heart attack. So we've lost a fantastic modeler. So I just wanted to do a shout out because Keith was very active on the Miniprints Modelers group and constantly posting photographs of his work, and his work was spectacular. So thank you, Keith. Rest in peace, and you will be missed. Your expert modeling will be sadly missed, as will you. As I always mention, if you're interested in rewatching this, if you came in late or if you missed part of it, you can always watch the replay of this on our YouTube channel under the Miniprints Monthly Live tab, as well as other months. If you missed January, February, March, April, you can go back and watch those. As always, you can contact me through the Miniprints Facebook group at Miniprints 3D or the mentioned Miniprints Modelers group. If you do have Miniprints and you would like to post pictures of them, the Miniprints Modelers Facebook group is the place to do it. And besides the Miniprints Monthly Live, there is lots of stuff, including Miniprints in the news and all sorts of videos on our youtube.com channel, which is simply Miniprints. So thank you, everybody, I will be in touch with the winner of the book. And let me just go full screen. I hope you enjoyed both of our guests tonight. As usual, I am planning a million, here's a hint, a million new things. Mini Prints of the Month is coming out next week, and I have a board over there filled with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brand new ideas. So there will always be new things listed every Friday at miniprints.com. And we go live in a month. The first Wednesday of the month will be Wednesday, June 4th. I see on the calendar right there. So I will see you all back here in a month on the first Wednesday of the month, 7 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday, June 4th. Thank you so much for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure and fun and a blast. And if you're watching this on replay, thank you for tuning in again. And good night, everyone. I'm just going to check the comments. Good night, everybody. There we go. All right. We'll give Sparky the last word. Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.